What's going on? What's going on, everyone? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everyone?
Hey, happy Saturday. Hope everybody's doing well. And it is that time of day. I've just got my headphones on for a second just to make sure everything's working. Here's my vocal mic. Maybe I'll move it a little closer here so it sounds a little more in your face. And then sounds like my guitar is also working. So, the other funny thing I have to check, since I'm going to both Facebook and YouTube, is that I am live on both. So I see it on YouTube and I see myself on Facebook. Now the trick is I'm trying to figure out how to see your comments on Facebook. If you have questions there. Now if I do this, I'm trying to figure out how to see your comments on Facebook. Turn the volume down. There we are. No comments yet on Facebook. Okay, so I see everything everywhere. I'm the all-knowing, all-seeing owl man, if you ever watched the Hercules cartoon when you were a kid. Or I'm sure there's some station where you can still watch it. I'm sure you can watch all the episodes on YouTube. Let's put it that way. I'm at the very, very, very end of a cold, so I'm a little bit, I've got a little bit of a still. But I'll drink some water and hopefully that'll help. So welcome. I decided to make this one kind of wide open. I do these almost every week. These little live streams with my group of people who follow me and who are members of the Don Ross Guitar Academy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type that in so that it's on the screen. New text box overlay. You'll probably see me type it. Maybe you will. So it's www.donrossguitaracademy.com. And I have some beginner lessons and some intermediate lessons on there. And I take you through a whole lot of things. Guitar harmony for... harmony and theory for guitarists. Right from the very beginning, how to get started on the instrument, and then how to read tablature and how to play some relatively challenging tunes. I haven't created any new content in a little while since the pandemic kind of slowed down. It was mostly a pandemic project, but I'll get busy on it again soon and get more content up there. But anyway, you can check it out if you like. So there's the link on the bottom. I'll just put it as out of the way as possible, like maybe way down there in the corner. All right. So, yeah, if you're at all interested in asking any questions, feel free to do so. Maybe I'll play a tune for fun. I usually play this tune with a capo. And, of course, now that I'm live, I can't see one. There probably is somewhere on my messy desk here somewhere. I rarely play with a capo, so, but back when I wrote this one, I did. I may have to do the Reader's Digest version. Let's see, how does it start? Oh, yeah. goes, right? Not bad. Haven't played that one in a while. Although I did get a request for it last week. So I did play it last week for the first time in a while. It's a tune called the Is-Ought Controversy, which is a philosophical dilemma that one of those more modern philosophers like Kant or, I don't know, Descartes, I don't know, I can't remember, struggled with. It was the whole idea of whether you could determine how things ought to be from the way they are now, which seems like a frivolous pursuit because they already are that way. How they ought to be, I guess. If you're talking moralistically, maybe, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm going to look at some of your comments here on YouTube. I don't see any coming. Oh, there we go. There's something coming on Facebook. I was worried that it wasn't working. Hello, Bogdan in Ukraine. Nice to have you with us. And so earlier, Joseph Corbett was asking about speakers that I use for Dolby Atmos. So I mix in Dolby Atmos here in my studio. That came about primarily because I do a lot of music for video games these days, and the idea is that we're going to mix all these video game tunes in Dolby Atmos, but also I use them for my commercial recordings as well. I mixed my last album in Atmos. I mixed Yula Milishka's album in Atmos. And some singles I've released. I've released those in Atmos as well. And it's a great format. Oh yeah, I did the iMusic album. This band I used to be in back in the 80s. I had, we the three surviving members of the band had our performance at the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland digitally, did a digital transfer of it, multi-track, onto Pro Tools, and then I mixed it in Atmos as well. You can catch that on the streams and on my Bandcamp. So anyway, I've been doing a lot of Atmos mixing, and it's a wonderful way to listen to music. It's much more lifelike, much more realistic, much more three-dimensional. Some people diss it for whatever reason. I can't figure out why. I guess they just think it's a fatty thing. But you can listen to it fold down in headphones, which is really cool. So for monitoring here in the studio, I use Atom A7X speakers. I've got 7 of them around the room. And then overhead, I have Atom A5Xs, so the 5-inch woofers, and the ones on the plane have a 7-inch. That's allowable with Atmos. They say you can use smaller speakers overhead because it gets pretty heavy when you've got big speakers and you're trying to mount them on the ceiling. And then I have an Atom subwoofer. I think it's called a T10S. I think that's what it's called. And then in my rec room, my living room, I have an Atmos setup, but I don't have the overhead speakers. So I just do a 7.1 fold down for in there. But that's just for fun listening. And then of course I'll do fun listening as well on a pair of Apple AirPod Max headphones, the ones that go over your ears. Are they in here? Nope, they're next to my bed. I was listening to music last night. All right, so that's Joseph's question. I also answered it in text. Marathon, hi, Marathon from Hungary. Hope you'll tell us about your recent tour in Europe and your upcoming dates. Yes, I ran around a lot this summer. It was a funny, summers are always funny for touring because summers are mostly about festivals. And so you can't really string together a bunch of dates like you would in the fall or in the spring or over the winter. Because, in the fall and the winter and the spring, people are spending a lot more time indoors. They're at their kind of regular routines at work and stuff. So you tend to play a lot on weekends, and then you also play sometimes through the week as well. Usually the off days are like Mondays and Tuesdays. But during the summer, it's different because it's very much a festival season thing. It's very much a weekend thing, and the festivals can be all over the map, right? So this summer, let's see now. In July, I played at a festival. The July shows were all with Jule Milishka, a great guitarist from Germany that I do a lot of touring with these days. And together we played in at a festival called Baroque bis Rock in a town called Neuburg. And that was fun. It was an outdoor festival. It was a bit of a mess because there was a huge storm a couple of hours before we were supposed to go on, and the whole town flooded. So fortunately, the waters subsided in time for us to play later than we were supposed to. So, and there was a curfew as to we were on last, and there was a curfew as to how late we could play. So we waited a long time to play for not very long. But anyway, we'll go back another time, and it'll be less rainy, hopefully. We also played. Oh gosh, now I've already forgotten where we were, but it was all in Germany, I guess. And then we're next week. I'm running over again. We're going to play I'm going over early. Going to do a little bit of sightseeing in Scotland. And Eula and I are playing up at the Ullapool Guitar Festival in Ullapool, Scotland, country way up near the Hebrides. And so that'll be fun. And it's a wonderful festival. I played there once years ago with Andy McKee. And then we're doing a couple of shows in Germany. Then I come back and I start a little solo tour in Alberta, Canada. And then I do a big long tour through the US and Canada with Eula throughout the month of November. So it's a busy year. But the summer, thanks for asking, the summer was kind of fractured. We also did some Canadian dates together. We did the Blue Skies Festival in Ontario. We did the Edmonton Folk Music Festival way out in Western Canada. And we played a series of smaller shows here in Nova Scotia. It was a fun summer, but it was a bit chaotic. Okay, another question. A longtime fan, really getting into playing some of your music. What would you suggest for a first-time song to try and cover? There's a tune I wrote specifically to be a relatively easy tune to play. I mean, it still has its challenges, but it's called Stop Driving, Start Playing. I actually wrote it. It was supposed to be in a book of easier to play tunes by well-known players, that it was supposed to be put up by a publisher in Europe, but I don't think the book ever got published. But I ended up with a really nice tune. I put it on an album about 12 years ago. So Stop Driving, Stop Playing. Stop Driving, Start Playing is the name of the tune. It's a little more straight ahead. And there's also a video of it on YouTube, so you can catch that as well. Oh, hi, Stephen, Stealth Parrot. Nice to see you. Yes, I had a good summer. Andy, by any chance, did you ever meet Jerry Reed or Chet Atkins? No, I did not. They played, both those guys played a very different style from what I usually do. I consider myself on the acoustic side more influenced by like a lot of the British players like John Renbourn, John Martin, perhaps Nick Drake, even though I'm not that familiar with his music, but there's a lot of spillover stylistically. And then a lot of Canadian players like Joni Mitchell and Bruce Cockburn. They had a big influence on my acoustic playing. And then later on, I got more into jazz and new music and experimental composition and improvisational jazz and stuff. So Chet and Jerry were much more country-based, which was never really my thing. A lot of respect for them. I play one Jerry Reed tune, not very much anymore, but it's a great tune called Blue Finger. Never played any of Chet's tunes. Like I said, mega respect, totally different world. But I never got to meet either of them, no. Now, let's see. What else are people saying? Murray Harrison says, one of my favorite covers of yours is the original recording of Spirit Wars in 3 hands. I prefer this original version. Can you talk a little bit about the 2 versions you have and maybe play a little? Okay. Spirit Wars was written by a fellow named Jeff Bartley, who is a guitarist and singer from the Boston area, Boston, Massachusetts. And way back when, we met at the Winfield, the Fingerpick Guitar Championship in Winfield, Kansas, which I've been lucky enough to win twice. And I saw Stephen Bennett won it this year, which is really cool because Stephen Bennett is a very experienced guitar player who's had a long career. And he won the flat pick competition 100 years ago, and now he's won the finger pick. I guess he's the first player to do that. So that's really cool. So congratulations, Stephen, if you're watching. If you're not watching, pass on the congratulations to Stephen Bennett. So anyway, I met Jeff Bartley all those years ago, and it was in the late 80s, I guess. And he was covering my tune, The First Ride. And then he gave me a cassette that he had made that had his version of First Ride on it. And it was very good. And then, there was a song on the album called Spirit Wars, which I really liked. And the original version was kind of like, kind of that kind of groove. And then I thought to myself, if I rocked it up a little bit, it would be pretty cool. So I came up with the tune's in F sharp minor. So I decided to use what's called lute tuning, where instead of having the major third between the second and third strings, you have it between the third and fourth strings. So it's really good for playing in B minor, because of the F sharp there, it's so beautiful. Something to experiment with. It's also good for F sharp minor. It's pretty cool. So it liberates you to a certain extent if you're playing in certain keys that have more sharps in them. So for what I ended up doing for Spirit Wars was so the left-hand fingering is pretty simple. It's just this, like a power chord from the bottom string. It's like 2, 4, 4, and then got these open strings. It sounds so cool now. It's like you end up with this chord. It's like an F sharp, but it's not. It doesn't have a minor third in it. It's this ambiguous F sharp chord with a seventh and a ninth thrown in, seventh and an 11th thrown in. Yeah, 11th. And then, so I'm playing what looks like an E minor ninth. So it's mostly those two chords for the verse. Down here in this world of chains. Can't sing this one without standing up. And then for the chorus, this is the A chord. It's even better when you're in tune, but whatever. So it's an A add 9 with no third, and then I play this, which is that's really more of a. No, there's still no third, right? It's like an F sharp add 9 kind of, and then E. That's an E add 2 or add 9, and then I think I do. Can't really remember what I played for the C sharp chord. Maybe. Yeah, it's like a C sharp 7, sharp 9. So there's only a few chords in the song, but they're not super normal chords. That's how that original version from 1993 goes. Well, actually, I recorded in 1992. The later version, I tried to turn it into kind of a funky version. I just had this crazy idea. Why don't I just do this thing? I wasn't going to put it on the record, and then a couple of my friends said, "Oh, no, throw it on." So I threw it on. Whatever. It's okay. It's on the Any Color album. Alrighty. The first version was on 3 hands. Jeff something. Any Canadian collabs coming up? Love to hear your work with Sarah Harmer, Sarah Slean, or Hayden. I don't personally know any of those artists. I sat with Sarah McLaughlin at a wedding reception one day. She and her then boyfriend sat with me and my then wife. She's passed away since. It was a long time ago. That's Stephen Fearing's wedding, actually. And sometimes that's the way that these things happen. You actually make a personal connection with the people, and maybe it's becomes a friendship, and you decide to collaborate. Other collabs, I mean, I just did one with Bruce Coburn on my last album, and my ex-partner Brooke Miller and I have partnered up on the last album as well for a duet. And then what else now? Sean Hall is an American, but he played on the last album. So I've been doing a lot of collaborating. Michael Manring, another American. But who knows? I mean, anything can happen, right? I tend to collaborate with people from all over the world since I do so much world travel. So collaborating a lot these days with Yula Melishka from Germany. I've collaborated with Andy McKee before from the States, and Callum Graham from Canada, and a lot of other people. So yeah. Looking for, oh yes, that's right. I see, okay, sorry, I'm just trying to go through these in order. Have you ever thought about doing Twitch? I haven't yet. I know what Twitch is, but I haven't gone there yet. There's just so many platforms and so little time. And my big problem is time management. I just have no time to do anything. So the idea of getting on to yet another social media thing or live streaming thing kind of exhausts me, but we'll look into it. Do I usually use the tuning of my guitar when creating songs? This is from Michael. Do you choose popular or standardized tuning, or do you have your own way of creating tunings, and how? For the most part, Michael, the idea for the tune comes first. Like it's swimming around in my head, and then I try to find a way to achieve it on the instrument very often by inventing a tuning to accommodate the idea that I already have. Sometimes the idea works perfectly well in standard tuning, and I go there. But a lot of the time it doesn't, and that's why I use so many tunings. It's very rarely the case that I get into a tuning and then say, what can I do in this? But there are some tunings that are so beautiful that I've decided it would be nice to have more repertoire in them. So I'll write several tunings several pieces in that tuning, or I'll also write in very close tunings, like I might change one string or something. I hope that answers your question. Hey, Dave, you're looking forward to seeing me a month from yesterday in Edmonton. Yes, that's true. I'm doing, as I said earlier, four solo shows in Alberta. I'm playing Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, and Lethbridge. So I've never played in Lethbridge, so that'll be cool. So they're all around the middle of October. I think the dates all run between the 17th and 24th of October, I think. They're just before the tour with Eula starts in BC. All right. Hello, RD4 Rock Girl. Yeah, great. Is there a list of intermediate lessons on the Academy website? Is there a list of beginner lessons? A list? I don't know if there's a list you can look at if you don't join. Sorry to say. I'm not sure if we set it up that way. But in the beginner lessons, you basically start at the very beginning. What kind of guitar to buy, how to tune it, that kind of stuff. Finger picking, learning various Travis patterns and stuff like that. In the intermediate lessons, you start looking more at more theoretical concepts, and also how to read tab, how to play in altered tunings, and we go step by step through a couple of tunes on there. Now, when I tap, this is Dave, when I tap on the fretboard, especially around the 12th fret, I have all these terrible harmonics. How is it supposed to be done? Tapping in general is a bit of a problem, only because you're hearing both sides of the string, right? As soon as you do this, that kind of thing. This is what we're talking about, left-hand tapping. I don't use a lot of it, and when I use it mostly on the bass strings, right? So I have tunes where I'm not in the right tuning, but I don't know. I'll just make something up like that kind of thing, for what it's worth. So what I'm doing there is I'm using slap harmonics at the 12th fret, which sound really cool, and then mostly playing tapped bass notes, and usually fairly close to first position. I choose to do that most of the time because when you play down here, you tend not to hear these short parts of the strings because they're just so short. They're kind of above your ability to hear them. But then when you tap here, you're hearing this and this, or the here. So, like that. So the reason why they're so out of tune, they're not actually harmonics. It's just the fundamentals of each string are out of tune with each other pretty badly. So when you do this, theoretically you're at the halfway point, right? Like that's why this note is an octave higher than that. And that's true for this side, but not for this side, because you're actually stopping the string here at the 11th fret on the other side, so it's a little sharper, right? So that's when you do this. You hear both and it sounds terrible, or this. right? So that's why tapping near the middle of the string, I just avoid it. I think it's a bad idea. Unfortunately, one of the tunes I cover on my harp guitar is Because It's There by Michael Hedges. Now, I say unfortunately, not because it's a great piece of music, but he does this maneuver where he's tapping two strings. And especially on that harp guitar, that really sounds awful because you're hearing this and this and then this or this and this at the same time, and it really screams. The shorter end of the string screams really loudly on the harp guitar, and it really sounds out of tune. Hedges got around it by playing with magnetic pickups. So he would only have a magnetic pickup on his harp guitar, and then the pickup was only getting this side of the string. It wasn't getting this side. So it's easier to play in tune that way. When I play, my harp guitar has transducers in it, and they tend to pick up all the sound of the whole guitar. And so you're getting both sides. Or if you record with microphones. So I feel your pain. It's tapping in general. It's a kind of a special effect thing. I do it mostly for bass notes, and I use it mostly as an offbeat thing. I'm not one of these guys. I never really got into that. So anyway, I hope that helps. I've got to get through these because there's a lot of questions. It's nice to see so many, though. Okay, hello from Germany. Hi, Franz. Orion Mott Reiki says Toronto Medical. Oh, that's okay. Hello. That's a very long username you have. Where do I find your song Little Sister? It's actually called Sweet Sister. I don't really sing it anymore because it makes me too sad, but it's about a sister who died before I was born, and now that my family members are kind of leaving the earth, it's just like, ugh, can't sing it anymore. But it's on an album called Loaded Leather Moonroof, which Sony, I recorded for Sony back in the 90s, and they have never exploited it since I left the label. So they never put it on iTunes, they never put it on streaming or anything. So I've been sort of making the Sony records available on my Bandcamp, and that one I still have to do. So I've put my Christmas album I did, the Wintertide album, it's on my Bandcamp, and so is This Dragon Won't Sleep, which is another album I did for Sony back in the 90s. Loaded Leather Moonroof, that album I will put up soon. Thanks for the reminder. Brian, hi Brian, how you doing? If a luthier were tasked with building a guitar, what are some of the things you'd tell them to ensure they build something you like? Well, fortunately, I've been working with the same builder for 27 years, Mark Beneteau. He made this lovely instrument. That's what the B stands for on the headstock. Beneteau, Beneteau, or Mark with a C. It's Mark Beneteau, French name. Terrific builder. And Mark knows that what I like is I like a jumbo-sized body because that's what I grew up playing. My first guitar that I owned, really. Yeah, the first guitar that was in the house was a Jumbo Stella. The first guitar I bought for myself was a Jumbo Harmony Sovereign for $25. And then all the guitars I had since then, I think that my handmade Yamaha was slightly smaller than Jumbo. But then I started playing a Loudon, which was a Jumbo. And then ever since, so I'm used to this guitar shape and size. I'm a big guy, so it works well for me. He knows that I like a wide fingerboard for fingerstyle. It makes things much easier. Narrow fingerboards don't work for my style. Not just because my hands are large. My hands are not that particularly large, but they don't fit well playing the dipsy doodly stuff on a narrow fingerboard like you would find on a typical Martin, let's say. I like a relatively deep body too. I like lots of bass resonance. This guitar and all the guitars I play these days have fan fret systems, which I've gotten very used to. And they're great for me because since I use so many tunings where especially the bass strings are well below pitch, the strings retain their tension very well. Like you can tune these down. You still get a very strong fundamental. It's not going, like they often do. So those are kind of my points that I make. Now, Mark at this point has made so many guitars for me, I don't have to tell him much, except he might say, want to experiment with a cedar and mahogany this time? Yeah, sure. So my cedar and mahogany guitar, I've been leaving in Europe because I'm there so often. I just play it over there these days. This is my spruce and cocobolo guitar, which tends to be my North American touring guitar. So anyway, hope that helps. I'm not that fussy about wood choices, although some people are. I don't really hear the difference as much. I think cedar is just a little mellower than spruce, and mostly what you're hearing anyway is the top. the back and sides don't make as much of a difference as the top. And anybody who tells you something else, they're probably just convincing themselves. And let's see now, the scale lengths of my guitars. I think the normal scale length for my guitars tends to be about 26 inches or about 66 centimeters. On a fan fret, this one I think the bottom string is maybe 2 or 3 centimeters longer than the high string. And on my baritone, which is also made by Mark, it's got a more severe fan on it because it's a baritone. And I know that the highest sounding string is a 26-inch string or a 66 centimeter string, and the bottom string is a 28. So that would be about a 70 or 71 centimeters on the bottom. So they're very long. It's quite a long scale length. And for me, it makes for high tension, which I'm used to since I was a little kid, and I learned on a Stella that was made probably just after the Earth's crust cooled, and it had very high action. For me, something that fights back a fair bit works better. Okay, great. You're welcome, Michael. Alex, what's your nail care routine? Good question. I have a kit here that I carry around on the road, and what it has is a bunch of a bunch of kits of these. Some of these, like these are made by a company called, I don't know, Kiss they're called, and they're pre-made nails. These ones are really good because it's like they were made for guitarists. They're very hard. I just lost a nail just before the stream, so I fixed this one just before the stream, and you can see it's just one layer. It's really hard. They sound amazing, so I'm happy with those. I also sometimes get these. These are made by a company called Naileen, and they're pre-made, hundreds of them at a time kind of thing. These you have to double up. I put one on top of the other with the crazy glue. This thing I do is really bad for your nails. My own nails are garbage underneath, but but I've been using them for over 30 years. And at this point, I can't imagine not using artificial nails. Because I use a thumb pick and I play really hard, so when you're doing this kind of stuff with regular nails, it no work. Okay. Coffee or tea? I'm a coffee addict. I drink straight espresso. That's what I drink. I don't drink a lot of it, but I drink straight espresso. 2 days ago, I've enjoyed Tommy Emmanuel and Mike Dawes in concert. Good for you, Franz. That's great. Orion Yada Yada. Maybe the song is called it's called Sweet Sister. That's what it's called. One of your favorites, but you can't find it anywhere. I'm sorry. Like I say, I'll try to make it available on my Bandcamp. Yeah, that's why I can't find it. Yurikosh, what is the neck width preference at the nut? I want a wider hybrid neck. Is this normal? I know the neck width I use. Again, this is somebody who doesn't know much about guitar building, but there are people who know so much more than I do, and they're so much more nerdy about it. I don't know why it never interested me, but like a classical neck is in inches, it's 2 inches. So that's about 5 centimeters, right? And then like a Martin guitar, the typical neck, I believe, and I'm probably wrong about this, but it's like 1 13/16 of an inch, whatever that is in centimeters. And then this guitar is not 2 inches, it's 1 3/4 or something. It's fairly wide. So again, that's for my fingerstyle approach, and fingerstyle guitars in general tend to have wider necks. Most Loudons, the S series or the O series guitars, like the ones I played for a number of years, they have wider fingerboards as well. So that tends to work for me. Yeah. And but you want a hybrid neck. I'm not sure what you mean by a hybrid. Do you mean something between a classical and a steel string neck? Because this is definitely between a typical steel string neck and a classical neck. And I have a 7-string guitar that does have a 2-inch neck, so that's more of a classical thing. Okay, you'd like to try your guitar. Well, I'm not getting to Czech on this trip, but I'm mostly in Western Germany this time. Anyway, I'm coming back again in the spring to Europe, so there'll probably be some wider, farther afield shows within Germany. So maybe you're Monotone. Sorry, you're in Hungary. Yeah, a little farther to come, isn't it? You're welcome, Brian. And yes, you adore Mark's work. That's lovely. Alex, do you add acrylic sculpting stuff on top of that? No, I don't. I just use them the way they come in the packet. How's that for lazy. You always used to go to the salon when you lived in Asia because it was so cheap, and now you've moved to Canada and you need to learn to do it yourself. Yeah, it's expensive here for sure to get your nails done at a nail salon. I used to go to the salon too, and for me it was like the cost of doing business, right? I didn't care. But what my big problem was when I broke one of the nails on the road, I was SOL, like what am I going to do? Where do I go to get this fixed? So I'd have to find a nail salon. And if it happened just before a show, that was tragic. So I started carrying other kits that had the gloop and gop and glurp, but they were horribly messy, and they'd end up being really hard and strange ways and not nice to play with. These guys that I use now, it's just I can use them practically out of the box. They're so easy. Brian, one more question. I've always loved your tune, Wave from Your Window. Is there any story behind it? Gorgeous melody, amazing feel. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. I just finished recording a duet version of that with Eula, and we made a video. So I have to remix the tune. I mixed it when I was on the road. I was just mixing on headphones, and I brought it back. I went, no, I got to do it again with real speakers. So I'm going to do that hopefully tomorrow, finish that mix. And we have all this video footage that we have to edit together. We haven't decided who's editing it yet. I might give it a go. But thank you. Yeah, the tune, Wave from Your Window, the tuning is, right. Oh, it's a pain in the rump. Let's see. I'll just play a second of it here. It'll take me more than a second to get in the tuning. I do have a set of strings at the ready in case. So the tuning is like a D minor 7th chord. So the bottom string is a D. The 5th string stays at A. The 4th string goes down to C. The 3rd string goes down to G. Down to F. And I've got a loose screw in this machine, so it's making it rattle. I'm sure it's the screw on the outside of the machine here, outside of the button. And then a C on the B string, so it goes up a semitone. And the scary bit is that the high string goes up to an F. So if I do this, if I play the F here on the 3rd string, I get the same tuning as Berkeley Springs, if you know the tuning for that. It's an open F chord, and this is the same tuning but with a D on the bottom, so it's the relative minor. It's a D minor 7th. So the tune, again, it's on that, I think it's also on Loaded Leather Moonroof, but I re-recorded it on my vocal album because there's a wordless vocal part. The album, Any Color, that's on the streams. So the tune starts... trying to remember my part because Eula plays my part now. That's approximately how the A part starts. Kind of this interesting kind of Latin backbeat funk kind of thing going on in the tune. And yeah, I really like the way it works too. The story behind it is that I wrote it many years ago. I wrote it in the late 90s. And I was touring a lot, as I always have. I've always toured a lot in Germany. And I was in Berlin at a friend's place and I had the afternoon off. And I'd been working on this little tune and I kept working on it. And it was a beautiful summer day. So I had the window wide open. In Berlin, it's typical that there are these apartment blocks that are like big squares. And there's like a quadrangle in the middle. It's kind of a green area where kids can play and stuff. But then there are apartments that ring around it. And so I was directly across the way. And I had made friends with this woman who lived across the way. And I met her a couple of times. And as I was working on the tune, I noticed that she was cleaning her bathroom. She was scraping the tiles in her shower with a sponge. And but that's all I could see was her arm doing this. So I'd be playing the tune, and then eventually I looked across the way when I was stopped for a second, and I just saw her arm wave like this in the window. So the tune is called "Wave from Your Window." That's the story behind it. Hi, Alex. Nice to see you. I'm doing well, thank you. I can't pronounce it. Do you like the more C-shaped or D-shaped neck? I'm not sure what that means. Do you mean the back of the neck? Or do you mean the front? Some people, there's, again, I know nothing about guitar building, but some people get really fussy about the front of the neck if it's straight or has a slight arch to it. If you mean the back, I'm not sure what I have. Maybe it's a D-shaped neck. I honestly don't know. Sorry, but thanks for the question. Your coach, thank you for answering. Yes, I'd go for narrow classical or wider steel string neck. Exactly. That's basically what I do. Thanks, Brian. Your coach, what is the tattoo in your left arm? That is an alto clef. Very beautiful alto clef that my daughter designed. Is this being recorded? Yeah, of course it'll be on YouTube. You can watch it whenever you want. I tend not to take anything down. So that same URL that made this work will work. And if you go to my channel, it'll be there as one of my live videos. Okay. Is this relighting a fire for you? Excellent. Going to do a little budgeting to sign up for the DRGA. Excellent. Carrie King, salut Don. Y a-t-il une chance de te voir jouer en France un jour? Sorry, yes. Is there a chance of seeing you play in France one day? I would love to come back. I have a friend, j'ai une amie là-bas qui m'aide de temps en temps pour faire les bookings en France. Et puis la dernière fois que j'étais là, c'était au Festival des Soudains, je pense. Et ça, c'était la dernière fois. Mais je suis pas sûr, ça fait longtemps. Ça fait peut-être 6 ans ou quelque chose. Alors, il y avait une chance de retourner il y a 2 ans, je pense, puis ça n'a pas passé. Alors, un de ces jours, j'espère. I hope to come back soon. Dave Keenan, how do you remember all those songs with immediate recall? Well, my joke used to be when I was raising kids, I'd always say a mortgage and 3 children. Now it's just trying to stay alive. I think that's all it is. In the 2020s, it's an interesting time to be a musician. It's not as lucrative. It's much harder to get the bucks coming in. So that's what it's about, trying to make a living. Plus, I mean, but I would be like that anyway. I love music so much that I always have music going in my head like 24/7. And so these tunes, fortunately, I think, I remember hearing this study about human memory apparently being limitless. Like we don't seem to have ever found what the limit of human memory is. So probably if you trained yourself, you could probably have been logging all the memories of your entire life. And there are people like that. There are people who can remember every minute of their lives, which is crazy. And I don't think I'd want to. I'd want to just remember the fun things, not so much the bad things. So if you specialize in something like physics or math or art, or, if you're a salesperson, you need to remember a lot of names. You can remember. You can train yourself to remember. And in my case, I think it's just a matter of I started playing music so young, and I started doing it for a living a long time ago now. And it's been a necessity to remember how the tunes go. So that's why sometimes, like at a show, somebody will say, "Can you play da-da-da-da?" And I haven't played the tune in 15 years. But I'll say to the person, just give me a sec, and I'll quickly woodshed, and I'll say, okay, I'm going to try, but it's not going to be perfect. And it isn't perfect, but it's still close. So it's still lodged there, maybe in layer 27 of my brain, but it's there. I can bring it to the front. So that's lucky, at least for now. I can still do that. Who knows in 20 years? All right, but thank you. Back on the next, C or D shaped, yeah. Okay, D is flat or C is more pointy. Oh, mine is not pointy. Mine is roundy. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So I guess that maybe is maybe that's what I've got. I'm just double checking Facebook just to see if there are more comments. No, there's not a lot of comments on Facebook. That's okay. Yes. Do I have a routine to prevent injury or repetitive stress? Aaron, my whole thing is don't over practice and don't overplay. I had one point in my life where I had pretty severe tendonitis, and it was right around the death of my wife Kelly. This is, we're talking 23 years ago now, and at that time, in order not to wallow too much, I just said yes to everything. I took every gig that came along. I just stayed really busy, and also then I took my kids out of school and homeschooled them for a year. And they traveled with me. I had two little girls that went all over the world, 13 countries with me. So it was a really intense time, and I had to play a lot and and just be busy and make a living and take care of my kids. And I woke up one morning. I remember I was here in Nova Scotia. I wasn't living here yet, but I was staying at a friend's place, and I woke up and I could barely lift this arm, and then I felt this really severe pain right here in my elbow, and I went, I know what that is. Because I've had friends, obviously other musicians, who have suffered from tendonitis. So the insidious thing about tendonitis is that the only time you don't feel the pain is when you do the thing that gave you the pain. It's a bit like addictive drugs, right? Addictive drugs are so bad for you, and sometimes the only way that you don't feel sick is when you do the addictive drug. Well, with tendonitis, it's like I went back to playing again. It was like every time I had a concert, my arms are great, and then like an hour after I stopped, it was like, oh my God, my left arm, and then my right arm started, and then I developed getting a ganglion here that I still have, and I just don't bother dealing with it. It's just a tendon. It's a fluid on the tendons. It's been there 20 years, and so anyway, that's what I learned from a sport doctor. They just said, play less. Play less. So I found myself only playing when I was composing and when I was on stage. Otherwise, I wouldn't just sit and noodle. Wasn't good for me. So I did a lot of noodling when I was learning how to play the guitar, when I was young and lithe and all those things, and you could just do anything with your body and it would sort of take it. And I would play like 6-7 hours a day when I was a kid, because I wasn't much of a TV watcher, or I wasn't the kind of kid to hang out at the mall or go to the video arcade or anything. I just wanted to play music. So that was my investment then. These days I can take it easier on the playing all the time, So that's my practice. It's not really very helpful, except just don't play so much. Your post not ready concert, Mike Tommy. Do you have ideas for other great modern stylists to check? Next weekend I'll go to the Guitar Summit. Oh, good. Guitar Summit. Is that the one in Berlin? Anyway, a modern fingerstyle guitar player to check out. Definitely check out Jule Melishke from Germany. Who else can I suggest? Petteri Sariola from Finland is great. Sean Hall from Washington State, lovely player. Who else can I heartily suggest? Of course, Callum Graham has been doing all kinds of interesting things for years now. Still young, but he puts out these very landscapey records now, which is what he wants to do. But still a very interesting player. Antoine Zufour, of course, is always an amazing guy to listen to. And then who else can I suggest? Caroline Langendijk from Netherlands. She's great. Hard to spell her name. Karlijn is her first name. Her last name I will not be able to spell, but it's pronounced Langendijk. She's great. And she's a great composer too. Who else can I suggest? That's all that comes off the top of my head right now. There are other more established players too that you might want to check out. How did I come up with the tuning for Crazy, Tim? It's the same tuning as I use for Michael. So from low to high, it's C, G, C, G, C. Let me try that again. C, G, C, G, B flat, C. So it's kind of like a C seventh chord, but with no third. And it worked for both tunes really well. The melody, it's in the wrong tuning. Like da 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 da. It's all there in the top three strings, and you can play them on harmonics. It sounds really cool. So that's where the tuning came from. I thought, I listened to this song and I realized it's in C minor. Okay, Michael tuning is really good for C minor. I tried it in the tuning and it worked. So it was kismet. All right. What's your current favorite new song you've listened to? Oh my God, I'm obsessing over, and this is not a guitar piece. There's a musician from the States that you may have heard of, really great piano composer. His name is Robert Glasper, Glasper. And he has this just beautiful tune on his second most recent album. The album is called Let Go, and there's a tune called Going Home. You can only stream it on Apple Music. It's an exclusive to them. But I love playing piano as well, and so I've been just before the stream I was learning this tune because I listen to it every day in the car. I got myself a newer car, and it has a really good sound system in it, and it links up automatically to my phone. And that tune tends to be the last one I've asked Siri to play in my car. So it starts up. It's become the sound of me starting up the car to go somewhere, and I just love the sound of it. So that's a tune I'm very obsessive about, even though it's not a guitar piece. I don't listen to a lot of guitar music, to be honest. All right. No dad, but expect the unexpected. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. Which platform is the best for you as an artist in terms of getting paid for selling music? Bandcamp, for sure. Just in terms of actually getting some money. Not enough people use it, but it's definitely the most lucrative in terms of each sale. So Bandcamp. So if you go to donross.bandcamp.com, that's most of my new stuff. Most of my new stuff is there. Anything that I have the rights to is there. Not the Candy Rat stuff. The Candy Rat stuff you'd have to order through them. But again, I make decent money if you order on Candy Rat. The recordings I still have there. Definitely those. The streaming services, obviously, you get piddly money. And iTunes, it's okay. But it's better to support artists directly if you can. And the best way to do that often is on Bandcamp. What's the inspiration behind Klimbim? Klimbim is a German word that means junk. So what you call a junk store, kind of like not really an antique store, a place that sells like curiosities, things that are too good to throw out, but not good enough really to treasure. So, a teacup for 25 cents, that kind of place. I was learning German on my first few trips there, and I really became enamored with that word, Klimbim, because to me it didn't even sound like a German word. I thought it was so funny looking and sounding. So I asked my friends what it meant, and I found out, and I thought that's perfect, because I had this new tune that was kind of two snippets of ideas that I glued together musically, and so I thought of it almost like taking a couple of pieces of junk, gluing them together. That's the inspiration for that. And I love the tune. I think it's... Whoa! Sorry about that. Whoa. So I asked my friends what it meant, and I found out, and I thought that's perfect. I had this new tune. It was kind of two snippets of ideas that I glued together musically, and so I thought of it almost like taking a couple of pieces of junk, gluing them together. So that's exciting. That's the live television. And I love the tune. I think it's... Whoa! Sorry about that. So I asked my friends what it meant, and found out that's perfect. Audio. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, good. Back to our regularly scheduled program. So Klimbim. Don. Hey Don from Toronto. Have songs come to you in dreams? We have to wake up and get just one. Just one. Isn't that funny? I've only ever dreamed a tune once, and it's in such a ninth ring of Saturn tuning. I'm not going to get into it. It's standard tuning with a C sharp on the bottom. I'm nowhere near standard tuning right now, so and that weird tuning ended up being the way that the tune worked best. But the piece is called Island of Women, and I dreamt it. I dreamed it. It was dreamt. Never did understand the word dreamed and versus dreamt. I think dreamt is a past participle. So I dreamed is the past tense. Pretty sure. I dreamed the song, and I actually remembered it when I woke up. And it's harmonically really interesting piece. And then my late wife, Kelly, helped write the B section. So when we got home, I worked it out. And I worked it out on the piano first. I didn't play it on the guitar. I learned it on the guitar. So that's a cool way to write. If you play both instruments, write a piece on piano and then try to learn it on the guitar. I have another piece like that called My Previous Life that was definitely written like a hymn tune for piano, and then I learned it on the guitar and had to come up with a bizarre tuning to play it there as well. Thank you. Good question. Thank you very much, Marathon. I guess that means something. I see a dancing pear, a green dancing pear or something. Anyway, thank you. Stealth Parrot says, Rick Beato just interviewed Dweezil Zappa, right, who made a good point. He said you wouldn't work out for 8 hours a day, so you shouldn't play for 8 hours a day. Amen. Yeah, when people ask me, and like, you must practice 6 hours a day, I just think, no. I'm an adult. I don't have time, you know. I remember, and it's not good for you, I remember my very first music course when I did my bachelor's degree back in the 80s. My very first professor said, practice now because you won't have time later. And that was great advice because, I don't have time for practicing these days. I have time for writing and playing on stage, but, practicing, not so much. Check out Will McNichol. Yes, I'm not sure if Will's going to be at the Ullapool Guitar Festival this year. I think he will be. He usually plays it, so I might meet him. I've never actually met him. Pipo Romero, thank you. I did a bunch of touring with Pipo. Pipo's amazing. He's a young guy. He's 40, or 41. He plays steel string guitar, but he plays flamenco-inspired stuff. He's from Andalusia, so it's legit. That's the music from his area. So he's not doing this nuevo flamenco pretend stuff. He's doing the real thing. But he's doing it fingerstyle on a steel string guitar made in Canada by Michael Greenfield, my good friend Michael Greenfield. And Pipo's fantastic, and he's an amazing composer. His tunes are so beautiful, so check it out. Not just for the guitar playing, listen for the music. Your absolute favorite is No Goodbyes. Thank you. I usually play that in standard tuning on my baritone guitar in what look like G positions, which sounds in D on the baritone. But thank you. That's great. Glasper's amazing, eh? Brian, oh my God. Like the Black Radio records, I listen to those until I'm blue in the face, and then the last couple of records that he did for Apple, the Let Go album, it's mostly pretty ambient, but that one tune called Letting Go, it's called Going Home, Going Home is so beautiful. And then he's come out with a pretty angular jazz record since then. So he's got a lot of sides to him. I saw him live in Kansas City about 7 years ago, his trio. Killer. Alex, do you have a favorite tuning? I have a couple of tunings that I like probably more than the other ones. I'll see if I can get into this one. I may have already mentioned it. No, I didn't. So it's a C on the bottom. And then a G. So the bottom string goes quite a bit lower. Like I say on this fan fret guitar, that low C really rocks. A G. Now, this I probably will break the string, and if I do, I apologize for the bang that you're going to hear. The fourth string has to go up to an E flat, and I was down to a C. So, I made it. So the bottom three strings trace a C minor chord, but what's called an open-voiced C minor. And then F, fortunately it was already there. So F on the third string, B flat, and then a D on top. I was all the way up to an F. So the one scary note is on the fourth string because you have to go a semitone above normal pitch. So what this traces is a C minor 11th chord. And what I was trying to do with it, I was trying to get this voicing, which is an E minor 11th, that I learned off a John McLaughlin album 100 years ago. And I tried to get this this chord as a tuning. And it wouldn't work in D. Obviously, it wouldn't work in E because it got a lot of higher strings. It didn't work in D. It was still too high. But it did work in C, provided that you had a relatively fresh fourth string on there. And so what's nice is that 11th chords have 6 pitches in them. It's hard on the guitar to play a chord with 6 different pitch classes. Normally, usually you have to repeat something, or leave something out. Anyway, I'm close. So when I came up with this tuning back in the late 90s, I thought I'd invented something cool, because I've invented a lot of tunings. And then Brooke Miller wrote, when we met, she wrote a bunch of tunes in this tuning. She really liked it. And then eventually she made some videos of some of the songs. And then somebody commented, "I love what you've done with that John Martin tuning." And I went, wait a second. Oh, yeah. Da, 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 da. Solid. It's a John Martin tuning from the 70s. So he came up with it back then. And what a great tuning. So I used it to come up with this tune. It's called So Little Time. The main part goes, no. That one. And then I also used it for a bunch of other ones. How's it go? It's A Million Brazilian Civilians. Also, upright and locked position. And then for if you tune the bottom string to an E flat, you get this nail's catching. Sorry, I can't do the fancy part of that, but that's Cup of Pop. And then if you tune the bottom string to a B flat. Oh yeah, it's been a while. There we go. Anyway, that's one I'd have to practice. 774. So there's a lot of variations on that tuning, and I like it a lot, obviously. I think there's one or two others that are just not coming to my head right now. All right. Thanks, Flintz. I'll go through these quickly. What was it like playing with Kent Nishimura? A lot of fun. Kent's a nice guy. Great young player, really fine musician. I encouraged him to play more original music. Franz, thanks for all the fingerstyle players. You're going to look forward to checking them out. Absolutely. David, what's your opinion on Tosin Abasi, Animals as Leaders? Don't know that act. Have to check that out. Thank you. I'll make a note of that. Franz, thanks for all your great work. Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Yes, I'll see you in northern Germany soon. Will is at Ullapool this year. Great. So I'll see him there. I'll get to meet him. I know Yula thinks he's the best guy ever, so it'd be nice to meet him. Please come to Vancouver November 2nd. I'll be there November 2nd at the St. James in Kitsilano with Yula Milishka. That's it's a weekend night. I think it's a Saturday, November 2nd. And we're also going to film, we're going to screen a film called Walking Through the Fire. It's this indigenous music project that I took part in with Sultans of String. We're going to screen the film before the concert. So that's going to be fun. Very special night. November 2nd at the St. James in Vancouver. The tuning's beautiful. Yeah, that's killer. Gary, Don, what's one of my favorite songs of your sweet sister? No, I haven't made a video of it. Any chance you could play it here, upload a video? I'm sorry, that's the second time it's come up in the chat. I don't sing it anymore because it makes me too sad. And like I say, I've had since the song, it's songs about loss, and I've had a lot of other losses recently, and I tend to try to avoid songs that make me cry. So, so I'm not going to play it right now. Upload a video, maybe, who knows. I mentioned earlier it's on an album called Loaded Leather Moonroof, which I'll make available on my Bandcamp shortly. Tirta Leonardi, thank you. I just want to say good to see you, still killing the game. I know you're from 2010-ish era when I felt fingerstyle was really booming on YouTube back then. Yep, sure was. It's still very much alive, but it's not having the crazy time it did then, for sure. Kerstin, hi, how you doing? Hi to your family. Okay. Tirita, my favorite tune of yours until now is Berkeley Springs and Catherine. Thank you very much. That's very nice to hear. Those are both two of my favorites too. And Murat, hello, true legend. Oh, that's very nice. Hi from Kazakhstan. Oh, is this my friend Murat? Oh, wow, cool. I hope, did you do some translating for me in China? Is it that Murat? And Stealth Parrot. Catherine's incredible. Thank you. Can you please talk about my song Klimbim? Oh, you know what? I just did. So Murat, if you play this back, play back the, just repeat the video, and I tell the whole story of Klimbim. And then any more podcast episodes coming out? Again, that was another pandemic project. I've been neglecting it. I've been so busy booking live shows now that it's just like, and then mixing and recording and writing music for video games that I haven't had much time for the podcast or for the DRGA, but I will make more content soon. All right. Yes, hi Murat. Okay, so it is you. That's great. It's nice to hear from you. Jeff, something. Do you have any favorite YouTubers? And more to the point, have you watched any of Pat Finnerty's What Makes This Song Stink series? I'm not familiar with those. I tend to focus mostly on music I like, so I don't know how attracted I am to that. And my favorite YouTubers are mostly, believe it or not, they're either kind of political left things or they're to do with technology, because I need to know a lot about computers to do what I do. I watch a lot of that. And what other YouTubers do I watch? I watch a lot of YouTube, but it's all over the map. I watch a lot of documentaries and a lot of historical documentaries. Not much in the way of music usually. I find the music ones are a little... I don't really like tearing apart songs, either tearing apart because they're bad or let's listen to this bass line isolated. It's like, it doesn't really turn my crank. So I don't know. It's weird. Like, I get tired of hearing Rick Beato complain, so I tend to avoid him. He's got some really good interviews with some really fine musicians. I liked his interview with Pat Metheny. I liked his interview with Keith Jarrett. But yeah, otherwise I tend to avoid them. What's a video game you've worked on that we can go listen to? There is, there's a, what do you call it? An original soundtrack of a game called Manacaster. So Manacaster. That game's coming out very soon. The soundtrack's already available on the streams. Manacaster. It's under my name. You'll find it on my artist page on Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal and stuff. And there are 2 other full albums of a bunch of the music I've written for video games that aren't even released yet. So they're called Music for Games Volume 1, Music for Games Volume 2, all under my name. And you'll hear it's wide variety of stuff. There's pretty much no solo fingerstyle guitar stuff there. A lot of it's orchestral, a lot of it's full band, all that kind of stuff. Murat, thanks a lot. You're an amazing musician, composer, and guitarist. Oh, I remember you're an amazing person. How sweet. Thank you for everything. Yeah, it was really fun spending time with you in China. Matthias Kraus, you composed Michael ×3. Did the theme come to you while improvising, or when you were away from the instrument? That's a good question. I think the groovy bits mostly were just swimming around in my head. I thought C minor to F major, kind of this C Dorian vibe. I thought that would be really cool. And then this whole, that's classic, R&B. So I thought I'd throw that in there as a cliche. But yeah, it was probably a combination of both. I'm sure I wrote most of the tune with the guitar in my hand. But good question. Thank you. Donnie asks, what can you tell us about 432 hertz versus 440 hertz tuning? I would just say, if you want to tune to 432, go right ahead. I have no problem with it. I think that the idea that it's better is nonsense. And I think that people who are religious about it are kind of doing a flat earth thing, quite honestly. Instruments, the 440 standard is something that people have been talking about since the early 19th century as a possibility. And finally, in the early part of the 20th century, it became more standardized. The ISO standard was finally come up with, I think, in the 30s, to decide that 440 should be the A above middle C. And so instrument builders since then have definitely made their instruments with 440 hertz as the A reference note in mind. So if you play a guitar that's made normally, like with 440 in mind, and you want to tune down to 432 because you think it sounds more something something, by all means, go ahead. It's a third of a semitone. I'm not sure what difference that makes. The big problem with it is that if you're playing with a keyboard player that's calibrated to 440, everybody has to retune to 432 to play together, and that gets to be a bit of a hassle. Pretty hard to tune with a harmonica player because their instruments are all tuned to 440, and they're reeds, so you have to change the reeds. So and these little tiny instruments, forget it. So I think making a big deal of it is silly and makes no sense. If you think that things sound better in 432, that's probably just a belief that you've developed. There's a really good video that you should watch by Adam Neely, fantastic music theory guy and great musician. Adam Neely, and it's just called 432 hertz. And it starts off making it sound like he really thinks it's a great idea, and he's into all the conspiracy theories about it, and then he just debunks it all. So really worth watching. There's also a really great piece of writing by a guy named Milton Mercomedes. I'm sure you won't remember that. It's a big, long name. I'll try to put a link in the comments afterwards, but to a really great piece that he wrote on whether 432 holds any water. And his whole thing is, he's open-minded about tuning. Go ahead and tune to whatever note you want. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I use all kinds of weird tunings. But saying that 432 is better doesn't mean anything. It's not meaningful. It's not a meaningful argument. All right. Yes, Manicaster. While you're over in Vancouver, will you be doing anything in the Seattle area? No, but I'll be in wait a second. Yes, Seattle. Carnation, Washington, that's near Seattle, right? Playing at Miller's there with Eula. Playing in Port, what's it called? Port Townsend. I'm playing in, anyway, it's all on my website, donrossonline.com. And if you go to my tour page, everything's there. So I'm doing at least 3 shows in Washington State, and then going down to Portland from there, and then down to California. So come on out. I guess I'll do another 10, 15 minutes here. Alex, do you know the Japanese guitarist T. Cacophony? I do not. Does acoustic guitar fingerstyle tapping kinds of things, but often mixes it with electronic ambient sounds or rock band. If the music sounds good, great. If it's a bunch of effects, like Look Mono hands, not really into it. It's the end result. It's the music that comes out that I care about. That's why, unfortunately, most razzle-dazzle guitar players kind of leave me cold, because I think, that great technicians, but it's the music part I don't like, So, it's like a really skilled wallpaper designer can make wallpaper that looks horrible in your house, but wow, well made. Anyway, blah, 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 but I'll check it out. I don't know him, Alex. Matthias, thanks for the correct pronunciation. You're welcome. Murat, can you talk a bit about how to get more groovy and good way to practice with metronome to have a good time feeling? The grooviness usually, very often, if you're playing in straight time, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the way to kind of play groovy sometimes is to do some things on a 16th note push. Like, so if you think, decka, ticka, decka, ticka, decka, ticka, decka, so do some things like decka, ticka, ticka, decka, ticka, ticka, bump, ticka, bump, bump, ticka, like that. I'm not doing it very well. Don't know what tuning I'm in anymore. I'm in a very weird, I'm in the tuning for 774, so it's not going to work very well, but this might be better, who knows. See, a lot of the time I was so I'm pushing, playing just before the beat sometimes. That's a cool way to do it in straight time. And then in triplet feel, like da 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 da. That's like a jazz triplet, or more of a hip hop triplet, like Michael is a. So underlying that is it's all these little triplets. So you feel the 1 and 3. So I'm feeling that triplet feel all the time. Plus, I was doing a lot of pushes there. So that makes everything super funky, super groovy. I heartily encourage people to practice with a metronome. Time is every musician's biggest problem in terms of their playing, not just in terms of time management, but in terms of playing. A lot of people can make a nice tone. They can play a lot of notes. Sounds great. But it's sometimes they play it all out of time. And it makes it difficult to play with other people if your time isn't good. It makes it difficult to record, especially if you're having to record to a click. So if you practice with the metronome a lot, playing with a click in the studio, piece of cake. Hope that helps. Okay, thanks for your question, Murad. Have I seen the video of Jimmy Martin saying Pythagoras made the tuning 440? I haven't. And that doesn't make any sense because there were no tuning forks until, the 17th century? Pythagoras was before the 17th century. Brian L. Greetings, Don. I was at your last workshop in Cannington many years ago. Just want to say hi. Nice to see you. Thanks, Brian. Alex Coral. Andy McKee covered Streets of Whiterun from Skyrim. Yes. Now that you've composed for games, are there any themes from games that you're inspired by or have seen through a new lens and would cover? I'm actually working on a cover right now of the Halo theme, believe it or not. My boss asked me to do it, and it's for pipe band, like Scottish pipe band, doing the Halo theme. It's going to rock. So just working on that now. Which is more silly, ukuleles or 432? They're tied. Jacob, hello, Don. I've been listening to you for many years, so thanks for the years of enjoyment. Thank you. My question, what are some of your favorite DADGAD tunes? Well, of my own, I've only written a few. I've written Catherine, Annie and Martin. Those are in DADGAD. Have you written anything else? Not really. I don't think so. No other solo tunes. I just can't think. Maybe I did. Anyway, by other people, Andy McKee's Drifting, of course, is a perennial favorite. A lot of early John Renbourn stuff is in DADGAD, and a lot of Pierre Bensoussan. Probably my favorite Pierre Bensoussan tune is called Nice Feeling. It looks like Nice Feeling, but he wrote it in the town of Nice in France. So it's Nice Feeling. Very beautiful piece of music in DADGAD. Capoed up, I think, at the 4th fret. Great. Brandon, Catherine's your favorite song. Can I play it? Okay. Thanks from Korea. And the Halo cover is going to be sick indeed. Okay. Why don't I close with this? Thanks, Brandon, for the request. I'll, since we were talking about DADGAD, I was trying to plow through your questions really quickly, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It's so nice to see so many people out there. And all the comments are on YouTube, apparently, and I only see one comment on Facebook. All right. And if I somehow just didn't see them, I apologize to people on Facebook. I don't see them anywhere. I see one comment. Somebody said hello. All right. So try to get this back up to a G. La, 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 la. Do I have a favorite chord in standard tuning? E add 2, F sharp on the D string. Oh, yeah, that's a nice one. Mine's actually almost the same. It's this one. It's E add 2. Yeah, so the F sharp on... Oh, that's the one you're mentioning. Sorry. I was thinking the F sharp on the E string. F sharp on the D string is probably my favorite. But my favorite chord all time in standard tuning is this one. It's an E minor 11th. So from low to high, it's 0, 5... From low to high, it's 0, 2, 5, 2, 3, 2. So the little D chord on the top, and then an open-voiced E minor on the bottom. Very beautiful tuning, chord. You're welcome for the Q&A. Thanks, Skylar. Yeah, I mean, I play live a lot these days, so depending on where you are, hopefully I'll get somewhere near you. Jacob, you'd also like to say thanks. Many years ago, I messaged you by email, but learned learning one of your songs, and you kindly offered to show me in person. I chickened out, but it was a very kind gesture. You're welcome. Okay, I'll play a not too long version of Catherine to close out. Just make sure that you can see my guitar. I'll put this down a little bit. Should be a little better. So this is in Dadgad tuning. Okay. No. There we go again. Yeah, this is perched in a funny way. I won't get into all the nonsense I have to do to set up these streams. There we go. All right, Catherine. I don't guarantee it won't fall again. never know how that one's going to end up sounding. It's always a little different every time. Thanks very much. Glad you like that tune so much. All the fun being lucky chord. Excellent. Good. Sweet. Thanks for all the lovely comments, you guys. Really nice to hang out with you. Let's do this again sometime soon, okay? All right. And yeah, my Don Ross Guitar Academy people, I'll see you on the live stream soon. All right. Take care. Have a great weekend and a great week. We'll see you.